Hi, I just recently released my first EP, and I wanted to have a moment where I just talk a little bit about my thought process behind all the music that I made. And yeah, basically this video serves as a sort of Q&A session. Yeah, I just thought about a couple of questions that might arise, and I'm just gonna answer them. So yeah, let's just dive right in. I basically wanted to capture like a lot of change, both on a personal level. Like a lot of has changed in my life in the last years. Like I've finished university, started working, and have been a lot of changes. I've moved to a new place and back to an old place basically. And I also noticed like a lot of change on a global scale. Like obviously there are like huge crises going on, like with the pandemic that's now mostly over basically, but there's also like the climate change crisis and all that stuff. And yeah, I kind of just felt this, like this whole change, like this, that there's a lot happening. And yeah, I kind of expressed this in my music. Like the EP is also like a lot of back and forth between emotions. Like it sounds dark in places, but it also sounds kind of happy and uplifting in other places. And you can feel this like both on the arrangement level, like the how the track itself works. Like there are more quiet parts in tracks, but also more energetic parts and more frantic parts basically. That's how that all came together. And then I kind of settled on the title Tides. And I also made the artwork, where I also kind of wanted to reflect this idea, like you have these two people going into something that's a bit diffused. You don't know what's going on. Like in the back, there are like these clouds, and there's like a weird shape in the sky, and they are in a sort of wasteland. I think this whole concept just came together like this, like step by step. I kind of felt, okay, yeah, this is kind of how it's happening right now. This is how my music is also turning out. And yeah, then the end result was this EP. Mainly finding a coherent sound. The thing about me is like I like to explore a lot of stuff, and I also listen to a lot of different kinds of music. Like I listen to metal, I listen to jazz, I listen to techno, I listen to punk rock. I listen to so much different stuff, and I kind of want to make all of that. But I realized that I still kind of had to have like some sort of coherence in my sound, and that was kind of tough to find. When I started this, I said, okay, this year I finally want to release something. And yeah, so I set myself some parameters. I said, okay, I want to write 40 demos. With demos, I mean like this is the first arrangement. So everything that's more than just a loop. And yeah, I also realized that these, like the initial first 10 tracks I wrote also are very different from what I wrote at the end. And yeah, most of the stuff you hear on this EP is stuff like somewhere from the 11th track onwards. So the first 10 just didn't make it. They were basically just concepts and ideas. Yeah, I also then had kind of trouble to decide what I should put on this EP. First, because of this coherent sound I mentioned earlier, but I also had a couple of tracks on there that I also enjoyed a lot, but I just didn't feel like they would fit into this EP. But that doesn't mean that they won't come out. Like I already have another EP planned with tracks from this writing session, because there was some good material in there that's still left to uncover, I would say. I also realized that there's nothing set in stone. Like I initially wanted to have 5 tracks on this EP, because I felt like, yeah, I could tell a better story with 5 tracks, and I did have 5 tracks for a long time. Like I was already in the mixing stages of this EP, and then I kind of realized that one track, it just didn't fit. It was such a big mood shift. Like I already have a happier song in the end with Scrap 19, but this one was even more happy. And then yeah, I don't know, it would have ended up to sound too cheesy honestly. So yeah, that's something I learned. There will be a lot of change in your process, and it's definitely a learning experience. It's the first time I did something like this. I only released stuff on SoundCloud before, like under another artist name, and we probably all should forget about that one. Like it was just some not ideal techno tracks. So that's something I want to tell other artists, or that's something you should probably apply to life itself, is that, yeah, sure, have your idea, but there will be changes. You can't stick to the plan like you wanted to initially, and I think that's a good thing. Like, it shows growth within yourself. There isn't really a set process, honestly. Like, most of the time I start with the drums. Like, I just want to have a good groove going, and then I add the bass, so I can have like this, because it's, in the end, it's still all dance music I make, like it's electronic music, and that's obviously very important. But that's not always how I start. Like, sometimes I just mess around with some sample which I found interesting, and then I do some stuff to it, and then I realize, hey, this sounds really cool, let's try to make a track out of that. And then, yeah, that's sometimes how things come together. Or what also could be is, like, I listen to music and then I just get inspired from this music, or I watch a movie, or I play a video game, or I read a book. Like, there's so many things that come into play that I can't really say, okay, yeah, I have this hard process that I always follow that will always be the same. Sure, there are some things, like, as I said, I mostly start with the drums, but that's not always the case. I don't really have any gear that I produce with. Like, okay, yeah, I have some MIDI controllers, like I have this whole Novation stuff, the launch key, launch control, and the launch pad, but I got them quite late in the writing process, because before that I was just doing everything with mouse and the computer keyboard. And yeah, obviously I sometimes record bass and guitar. It's not like I'm jamming around on drum machines or playing around on synthesizers or stuff like that. It's just all in the box. Oh, there are a lot. Like, obviously there are the obvious ones, like from electronic music, like stuff like Burial, Boards of Canada, Aphex Twin, and like you know, the stuff that everybody listens to, that listens to electronic music, basically. But there's also a lot of stuff outside of that. Like, you can definitely hear some post-punk influences on my EP, especially on the second track. But I also listen to a lot of shoegaze, like Slowdive, and Warpaint is one of my absolutely favorite bands. Like, I listen to a lot of their stuff. And yeah, coming back to electronic music, there's also like Ski Mask Drum. I don't know how to pronounce him. DJ Drum. Yeah, so that kind of stuff is all like, it's all this big melting pot that comes together in my music. As I already said, I listen to a lot of different music. Like, there's even some metal influences, I would say. Like, you can barely hear them, but I love distortion. So I guess there are still some metal influences there. Basically, I just want to take them on a journey. Like, I want to, as already mentioned, have this change over time, and I want to give listeners this opportunity to have also feel this change on whatever level they want to. I also want to give listeners a template, so to say, for realizing that it's okay to take some liberties artistically. Like, you don't always have to fall into one particular set genre category. The first track on my EP, I would say, is like this IDM, breakbeat, electronica stuff, and then the last track is just a funky house tune, and in between is the track with post-punk influences. Yeah, I think it's important to do stuff like that, to just don't fit too much into a box. At least that's what I think is important for me in my music, and that's the kind of music I mostly enjoy, where people take some liberties and don't just fit perfectly into a box. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming. As I already said, there's enough material for another EP, definitely. Like this, I've planned this for early 2025, but I also am already working on singles that are coming out quite soon. I also want to work with other artists. Like, obviously I'm a fairly new artist in this electronic music world scene, so nobody knows me yet that much, but I'm working on it. If any artists want to collab, that's definitely something I am up to. I definitely want to do some remixes, and I want to have some artists do remixes for me, and yeah, maybe some collabs, like some split EPs, whatever. Like, I'm open to ideas, really. Yeah, and other than that, I will continue making videos for this channel, because I also think it's a great opportunity to connect with other artists and to help other artists with my music. That's why I also made all these song breakdown videos, because I think it's a great opportunity to learn. So yeah, stuff like this planned. I'm gonna do probably some vlog type stuff like this video here, which is basically a Q&A session. And yeah, music videos obviously. Other than that, no plans really. No plans to play live at the moment. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that now, maybe in the future. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so this was my ramble for my newest EP, my debut EP. You can listen it on every streaming platform. It's on Bandcamp. I have links down in the description if you want to check it out. If you have any further questions about my process, about how I make music or anything else, you can also ask them in the comments, and I will do future Q&A sessions where you are the people asking questions, not myself. I think it's much more fun that way. Thanks for watching, and I hopefully see you in future videos. Take care.